To Tax Tuesday with the Tax Queen. I am a firm that supports digital entrepreneurs, digital nomads, RVers, expats, anyone who's kind of living a remote lifestyle, running a business, could be retired. And I only got a couple of questions today for Tax Tuesday. So if you haven't attended before, I do always go through the questions received via email before we go live. And then if we have time and there's questions, I will answer live questions. And so I'm going to dive right in. It is tax season. We're here in March. So I am in the thick of it. It's one of my busiest months, and I'll keep this short and sweet for everyone. Let's see. So first question I received is, we sold our house for a tidy profit, but we're staying under the capital gains threshold. Will be taking the standard deduction? Is there a benefit to calculating the improvements made to the house? So first, let's go back for anyone who is not aware of this. When you sell your primary residence, you get $250,000 tax-free of capital gain per taxpayer. So if it's single, it's 250,000. If you're married, you get 500,000. And you must live in the house for the 2 years or 2 of the past 5 years. It must be your primary residence. So you must have owned it at least 2 years. And you can add, so that's what this question is about, like making improvements. So putting on a new roof, adding HVAC, new flooring, like remodeling a kitchen, doing landscape out in the backyard, adding a patio or deck. Those would all add to your basis, which is your cost in the home. Right. So maybe you bought the home for 200,000 and over the course of 10 years, let's say you put in $50,000 of updates. So now your basis or cost of that home is 250,000. And if you go and sell it for 500,000, then you have $250,000 of gain. We're kind of not even accounting for expenses, right? Because we all know there's an expense when you sell a house, in which case that's tax-free gain, even if you were a single taxpayer, and we wouldn't have to worry about it. You do still usually report it on a return, and many times companies will issue you a 1099-S for the sales proceeds, regardless of the amount. So make sure that does get reported. So hopefully that answers this question. If your basis or cost in the home is already within that threshold, I would not waste time, because that's time, right, on adding. If you know of a couple big quick expenses, that don't take a lot of work, you certainly can add them to your basis, but it's not going to change anything. All right, second question. I told you this was going to be short and sweet because I only got 2 questions. So if you're here live, feel free to drop a question in the chat and I can stay on a couple more minutes and answer anything live. Last year I bought into a Kickstarter with the goal of producing, so they bought 3D printers with the goal of producing the items and selling them at markets. I wanted to start a business. Can I deduct the printer I paid for on my 2025 return? No. So generally speaking, to me, if you have no income, you didn't really start a business, right? You're not actually doing anything to produce income. There is no work being done. So I would not take them on the 2025 taxes. However, in 2026, if you start producing these 3D printed items and start selling them at markets, even if you've made $500 of revenue, then you can report it on your taxes. And that's when you would report the 3D printers. And depending on the cost of the printer, you can depreciate them $2,500 or more for one item. You depreciate. If it's under that, it's just an expense. So just be aware of that. So yeah, generally speaking, when you have a business, if you have, or really there's no business here, you just bought a 3D printer, right? There's no business, there's no intention here in 25 to make money. So I would not count that. So yeah, that's all I got. If you're here, I'm going to keep this short and sweet if I don't get any more questions. Like I said, it is the thick of tax season. I am happy to stay on and answer any other questions. And otherwise, the next Tax Tuesday will be April 7th. So put that on your calendar and feel free to submit a question beforehand. And I just shared that link there. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna jump off. If no one else has any questions here live, I yeah, going once. Otherwise, yeah, I hope you have a great March and I will see you in April. Hopefully you're working on your taxes so you don't come up on that deadline. And yeah, I'll see you in April.